America is at a crossroad. Never before have we stumbled so spectacularly on the world stage as we have in recent years. The pandemic has brought many of our biggest issues to light. Homelessness and the mental health crisis have reached epidemic levels. Freedom of speech is under threat. Politics has never been more toxic, and corporate greed has reached heartbreaking levels. The climate crisis has brought a dramatic increase in natural disasters. Meanwhile, we stand on the threshold of artificial intelligence, which could serve as the best tool to help us deal with many of these challenges if we can keep the power out of the hands of a few. How do we deal with these many issues? By speaking radically, honestly about these challenges and their solutions. By becoming more enlightened to the facts and raising human consciousness, we can use this unprecedented moment in human history to create the most extraordinary advancement in our collective experience. I'm host Shaman Isis. Welcome to Citizen Journalist. Hi, and welcome to Citizen Journalist. I'm your host, Shaman Isis, and I'm super excited about today's episode because we're talking about my favorite topic, which is artificial intelligence and communications as well, but really focusing on artificial intelligence. And I'm delighted to have, a real maverick in artificial intelligence and communications, Eugenia Jordan. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so very, very much for having me here. And you wouldn't believe it, because when we're recording this episode, on the first one, the dog was scratching the door, and the dog is scratching the door now. So I'm going to quickly run, let the dog out, and then I'll be right back.
Oh my gosh, you're so funny. Eugenia and I recorded this episode the other day, and for some bizarre reason, which I've not been able to figure out, the last 4 episodes I recorded of my podcast, which I've been doing for a couple of years now, they do not exist anywhere, not on Zoom, not on my computer, not in the cloud. So we're re-recording, but that just gives us a chance to give that much more of a delicious interview, right? So Eugenia, you are fascinating. You've got this incredible background. You not only you're an author, telecommunications pioneer, you hold a dozen patents in the area of artificial intelligence, and just so many more interesting things. So tell me what your thoughts are about the current state of AI. Are you excited about it? Do you think it's going to change everything?
That is such a great question. And two of my patents, they are on predictive AI, because AI is nothing new. We use machine intelligence in many industries. We've been using it for a while. So what is new is the generative AI, where AI produces results based on the data that humans input and train. So there's many different types of AI, from predictive, as I mentioned, to conversational. And again, conversational AI is nothing new. We have chatbots, pre-programmed chatbots that have been running on many different websites, airlines, retail, for a while. So what is new is that predictive AI, chatbot, or conversational AI are now merging with generative AI. And that creates a lot of issues. Like you and I, we discussed, it's garbage in, garbage out, bias in, bias out. And we were talking about me doing experiments with the version of older ChatGPT and newer ChatGPT that was released a few weeks ago, around what an engineer might look like.
Oh, yeah. You guys are going to love this. Eugenia asked AI what an engineer looks like.
In the graphic format. So I gave very specific prompt. And I got a graphic of a white engineer with a beard. And I'm like, okay, so maybe I'm not being specific enough. So I went on Google and I said, what are the type of engineers exist out there? And there's about 30 types: marine, electrical, architectural, mechanical, electrical. Because I'm a persistent person and I also wanted to have some solid data, I entered them all.
Oh no, don't tell me. Did you get a man every single time? Every single time?
Every single time.
Every time. Now, I would think in there, like just for like statistical roll the dice purposes, you'd get a couple of women, but you got none. It doesn't surprise me at all.
None whatsoever. And then I wanted to prove some points because I already had in my mind that idea of bias. And it all comes down from who puts the data in and how the data is being trained. And it's the bias that we're used to. So I asked in a graphical form what a doctor would look like. It was a man. What a nurse would look like.
Oh, of course it was. It was a woman, right? You know, I find this really interesting because both of us have communications backgrounds, but I've been following AI for a really long time, and while simultaneously going through the phases that technology's been going through with, the advent of Google and all those things. And I notice, there's issues that have never really been addressed with artificial intelligence that people don't seem to really think about. And how crazy it is that one company can control so much of the information highway for everybody and just sort of get a pass for it. I mean, that was called a monopoly when I was a kid. And as well as, playing with artificial intelligence and seeing some of the issues. I remember early on using generative AI, and I recognized the artists that work was being utilized, even people who weren't really super well known, like a Da Vinci. I was like, oh, I know that's a fantasy painter that does a really incredible work. And I was like, how is this going to work out? Like, I remember thinking, how are they stealing all of this data from? And I assumed they were scraping the internet and any wherever they get a source of data of any kind that they could get access to, free and paid. And it made me really concerned about, what happens to all the, where's the pay? Where's the exchange of talent? And because, as we know, and I'm sorry, I'm bouncing around here because this subject gets me really excited, but as we know, like a ChatGPT is going to be one of the biggest companies in the world. And yet it's built its business, and I love it. It's great technology, but it's built its ability to be that big business off the backs of writers, artists, newspapers, magazines, TV. What do you think of all that? How do you think that's going to work out?
So they operate on a model, ask for forgiveness later. So if I were building OpenAI, because they started in 2016 when Elon Musk took the NVIDIA processor and gave it to Sam Altman to build it out. So it's been going on for a while. They've been building and training. It didn't just happen overnight and appeared in November of 2022. So they're going backwards a little bit. They putting the agreements in place with New York Times and other publications, signing licensing agreements. So they're doing it the right way now, a little bit backwards. But you brought up a really good point about artists. My son, who is a Gen Z, and he's and a group of his friends, they wouldn't use Midjourney early on because Midjourney was taking copyrighted art and then recreating it in their generative AI art. So having a generation that is aware of the work that goes in to create something is very important. And having those government acts, that's why there is, I believe in Korea, there are governments that are meeting to address those issues of copyright. And with Da Vinci, so obviously his art was fed into all those platforms. How is it going to be addressed? With written word, it's easier. With New York Times or Wall Street Journal or some, authors, it's easy because there are lawsuits with authors as well. It's easy to address. But what about art that existed for years and years and years? Mm-hmm. Who's going to sign those agreements, and maybe it's the museums that hold them, or maybe some non-profits that will give grants to artists. I don't know, but we need to figure that out.
Yeah, we really do, because as we know, it's going to put a lot of industries out of business. Now, sure, it'll create a lot of industries. I think we all know it's going to create new jobs. There'll just be different jobs, and we haven't gotten far enough along to actually, really decide what those jobs look like. I do think more attention and time and commitment needs to be made to that, because it's coming so quickly. But when massive change is going on, we always seem to be trying to fix it after the fact, even though we're aware of it when it's happening. Like with Google, watching Google become the dominant. I remember having these conversations and nobody wanted to hear it at the time, because we're so happy with what we're able to do at the time that we're not actually caring about the repercussions of what we're deciding. And now we've got a search engine that's, and I love Google, but it's corrupt in in what it produces, and that I remember when you used to put a restaurant into Google and it would show you the restaurants near where you lived. And a lot of them were mom and pops. A lot of them were chains, but a lot of them were mom and pops. It was really based on proximity. Now, when you put in restaurants, you get like 4 pages of everybody who's paying. And what that's done is it's been one more notch in the crushing of independent businesses and family-owned businesses, and that kind of thing. We can get ahead of it with AI. What do you think in terms of the changes that AI is going to bring in, the positive and the negative?
So it's a good question, because I've been thinking a lot about it. I have a AI for Business newsletter that's growing like crazy on LinkedIn. And I've been playing with AI myself, different tools, from programming tools that make programmers more efficient, to going in open AI forums and asking how to improve different types of prompts. So I believe that AI is not going to take jobs. It's going to make us more efficient. And it's going to help us be better at our jobs. So people that want to get ahead of that wave, they need to learn now. AI is not going to go away. So if you want to stay relevant, go take those courses. There are free courses available. There are YouTube videos. There is many different tools. You can go on OpenAI or Hugging Face forums and learn that. So it's coming into this with the perspective that AI is going to stay. What can I do better to be relevant? And also, what can I do better for AI to be better? And that is very important, that to provide the feedback back to companies that building those tools on top of different LLMs or SLMs. So don't be just a user, but be an educated user, and think about the big picture, where we need to be as humanity 5, 6, 10, 20 years from now.
Yeah, I'm working on my third book right now called A New American Dream, and the whole point of the book is talking about what the point is that now is really the time. Change is consistent. We know it's the most consistent thing in life, but being able to ride change and direct it isn't something that we're very good at, nor do we ever really seem to have conversations about it. It's kind of like the change happens and we go, okay, let's figure out how to make it work for us now. And it's like we've got this precious opportunity with artificial intelligence to engineer all of it to not just be great for business, because that seems to always be the biggest motivator, but to be great for people. What are your thoughts on that? I'm curious.
So absolutely. And also, when you said the New American Dream, this AI gives opportunities to people to build companies as well. So it creates new opportunities for someone that is not based in a big city like New York or Boston or LA, create an innovative business using those platforms out of their home. So that's new. There will be a lot of new businesses coming based on AI, and it could be farmers creating software to improve farming. Anyone can create AI platform. So I have people reaching to me all the time asking to evaluate their platforms, and I do it as a user, happy to do it. So that's the new American dream, is how can I tap into this platform to build better lives for myself and my industry. And number two, like you said, what's better for humanity? What's better for people? So, and I'm going to answer it from twofold. So when you are a business person, a professional, and you are implementing AI into your workflows, think about privacy, data security, but also ethics. Implement it in your business from ethical standpoint. Partner with companies that hold those values: privacy, security, and ethics. And number two, when you're a human and you, as an individual, and you're trialing out all those tools, provide feedback. If you see that it's not making strides in the right direction, provide that feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Have an open forum, LinkedIn or Medium, to discuss how that can be improved. I strongly believe one person can make a huge difference. Look at Rosa Parks. She's my inspiration when she sat on, that bus seat. So be like Rosa Parks. Sit in the bus seat and provide that input, feedback when you're a professional and when you're an individual.
Love that answer. It's so true. I talk a lot in mindfulness about the fact that we're kind of taught to play small, keeps all the competitors out. And then it really is up to us to crown ourselves. It's up to us to own our God and goddess energy and to be our divine self and to show up and command attention. And it's okay. And if people don't like it, they can lump it. Because the people who don't like it are basically unhappy with the way they're showing up in the world. It has nothing to do with us. And I think with AI, like I noticed this when I ask to students, because I'm an adjunct professor, and I ask them about AI, and I'm always shocked at how many of them have never tried artificial intelligence. And I'm like, your generation? I'm like, guys, you have to make it your friend. Stop being afraid of it, because it's not going anywhere, and it's going to dominate everything. It's going to change every industry. It's impossible for it not to. I'm very excited about it. I think it's a wonderful time to be alive. It's an exciting time to be alive. My biggest concern is, how do we approach artificial intelligence from a conscious living standpoint to really turn it into a tool for a better future instead of a tool that just makes more small segments of the global population extra rich? Because that's what the trend has been. Sorry, I'm giving little speeches over here. I did want to ask your thoughts on something that I noticed, and I would love to know your thoughts on how it could correlate to sort of what we're seeing with AI. One of my frustrations with, like, say, Google is that, like, I've had several names because I'm a female and my generation got married. And when we did that, our reputations would get established. So I had a very long career in marketing and PR. And unless you know that name, you can't find that history at all. And it actually causes issues for me because people can't see without going to the trouble of going and reading, my whole, like, say, biography or looking at, but even it's a lot to ask people, especially when you've been around a couple decades. And I find that very frustrating because it reduces the opportunities that as a female leader I should be given, because it's too much work for someone to go find and see all of the results of all the things that I've done over time. And this isn't about me so much as, like, in with Google, there was never any consideration in the way that it was structured in the lives of women and how the way that it is structured actually impacts females. Like, there's nothing even, like, I even looked into that once to see, like, how do you figure out what multiple, can a woman actually list herself under multiple names? And outside of her own website or paying, there's really no way to fix the results. And I wonder, well, like, what your thoughts are in terms of one more example, and then I want to hear what you have to say with ChatGPT. One of my frustrations is my pen name is Shaman Isis because I'm a spiritual teacher, and Isis is the ancient Egyptian goddess of healing. She is not a group of men who decided to create destruction in the last 40 years of our history. But when you go into ChatGPT, I'm not allowed to use the word Isis. So a female goddess has literally been erased from AI history because her name was used in recent years by a group of men. And I'm not trying to detract from the horrific things that they did, but I wonder if it was a man goddess who had been worshipped globally for 10,000 years, would they also have erased him from history? Like, I just find that whole thing interesting. What are your thoughts on those kinds of dynamics within technology and communications?
Very, very interesting. Because I got married as well 12 years ago. I had to rebuild my name and the brand under the new. So I didn't even think about it because mine happened throughout, when I took advantage of LinkedIn and Medium and writing with the new name. So what needs to happen is it's the way we input data and the way we structure the data. So we talk about AI, generative AI, but it needs to be also intuitive AI to the needs. And I think that's the next step when AI starts thinking as a human a little bit and have different variations. So it's not black and white, because right now it's black and white and it's very high level, surface level. If you ask ChatGPT, for example, or if you ask other tools to provide like code snippets, it's very high level. So I think it's the next step is to look at all the information and all the variations and teach AI that there is gray areas. It's not just black and white. So you're bringing up a really good point, and leaders in AI that building AI, they need to listen to that input because it will make the AI better. That's fantastic input.
Yeah, I was actually quite surprised that I had actually posted several times saying, hey, ChatGPT, Adobe, with several generative programs, almost all of them, I'm not allowed to use the word ISIS. And this is not about me. It's that I use experiences and examples like that to foresee as a futurist what that's going to do. And I already went through what happened with Google. Like it's nearly impossible for people to find my history because of the way it wasn't structured with the understanding that some people's names will change over time. It was actually designed based on the way a man experiences life. And when I look at ChatGPT and it's like erasing women from history, without actually seeing that like the fact that they didn't respond, said, thanks for the heads up, we'll give it some consideration, like nothing. Like I was like, do you guys not understand what I'm actually saying? It's not about ISIS. It's about the fact that you're actually altering history because of something more recent that's politically sensitive, but it has nothing to do with actual truth. And when AI is engineered to only produce the results that we currently feel are politically appropriate, it's not actually telling the truth. And that's a huge problem.
So you're absolutely right. So what I was thinking, ChatGPT, instead of just spitting out responses in the future versions, they will be asking clarifying questions. So I think that would be probably the right direction, because I remember seeing an example where they said, oh, if you're writing a Valentine's card for your husband, and currently it would just spit out the card. In the future, ChatGPT would say, okay, tell me a little bit more about your husband, instead of just giving a canned answer. So ChatGPT would say, oh, does he like, I don't know, horses, flowers, cars, whatever. How did you meet? So, and maybe that's one of those nuances that with that particular word, there would be a clarifying question. Do you mean this or do you mean that? So if you mean ISIS as a terrorist organization, it's like they workflow, the flow, boom, closed. But if you mean it's as an ancient goddess, then there's more branches in that answer. So I'm hoping when the new version is there, you can ask that question and see if there's branching like they promised us that there would be.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. I love that you're saying that about the asking questions, because I think that actually makes a really great point of the next evolution. But also, shouldn't people be able to have input in how they're seen? Because we should have been able to do that with Google, but Google wasn't thinking about people. They were thinking about organizations and businesses and how to make money and monetizing. But ultimately, it really affects people, particularly women. Until we no longer change our names, which I'm sure have a sneaking suspicion that's in the future. But do you think there's a way for people to tell AI who they are? Which is probably a strange comment, but it kind of bears like having a conversation, because why does it always have to be about people who are powerful or rich or famous? You should be able to at least inform on a basic level a search engine or a data I don't know. I just think that's kind of an interesting thought.
It is. And there's an example of Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is open source. Anyone can contribute to it. And sometimes it's bad things, sometimes it's right things. So we should be able to contribute to those results in artificial intelligence, and there should be a process involved where human will oversee, because we don't want someone going in AI and tarnishing our name, or adding some inconsistencies. The way Wikipedia operates, maybe that model could be also used by Google with artificial intelligence or ChatGPT, because the process is there.
Yeah, no, that's actually a good idea. My one challenge with Wikipedia is that it's really a monetized model that's not monetized by the people who actually own it. I get contacted all the time by people, especially as an author. I know you know what I'm talking about, by people who are like, you should have a Wikipedia page. And I'm like, how much are you charging? Because I don't know if a lot of people understand that you can do it yourself, but the way they have engineered that platform is really complicated. It would probably take a person 1 to 2 days of studying and actual consistent working just to put something forward, and then it can get kicked back by anybody. Because I've had to do this for clients. But a lot of people may not know that most people pay to get that Wikipedia profile, and it requires citations of public documentation, like a TV interview, things like that. And so what that does is it makes being somebody about money, which is already like such a massive issue. But I'd only bring that up because I think that's interesting, that it is actually a great model for that. And you should be able to set up your own AI Wikipedia type thing, but it should be something that you're allowed to do with a government ID as your own. You're declaring your page like you're declaring your ID. And frankly, I'm sure the government would just eat that up.
So you're absolutely right. So Google, when I claimed my author's page on Google, I had to send my ID with my driver's license like this. When I created my YouTube channel and I wanted to be able to link to different sources, I had to do like this, right? So I agree, Wikipedia should, implement that instead of asking for money, because there is a lot of smaller creators, but also underrepresented scientists, writers, artists. They can afford that. I remember that woman that created like 1,000 Wikipedia pages for scientists, God bless her, for female scientists.
Love that. So love that story.
Right. So, but you're absolutely right. There should be some sort of controls to be in place for individuals to adjust their AI. And what you're suggesting is brilliant.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting. I mean, I think the fact is, but most people don't feel like they have any privacy anymore. So it's like, we're already registered on every social media platform. Like, what's the difference in actually claiming your public persona, if you will, and being able to it's probably is like it could be a combination of like it's a serious thing and that you have to show your ID and you have to actually be the real person and you get spanked into trouble if you actually do anything false, but that you can also have fun with it, like have a nickname and share your books, and it would actually be kind of interesting. I mean, it definitely looks, my intuition's telling me that now that I've said that out loud, like that there's going to be an announcement soon. We're going to have a government database where you can claim your page on AI. Anyway, oh goodness. So what do you, before we go, I would love to hear, I want to hear about your book, of course, but I do want to hear your thoughts about the industries that you think are going to benefit the soonest from all the incredible advancements in robotics and artificial intelligence and technology.
So obviously, you and I or any other professional can use AI tools now. They can go and get free trials, get on forums. So you don't have to be in a particular industry to use it now. If we're looking at the particular industries, it's interesting, and I believe that probably industries that always been ahead of the technology wave, like fintech or finance or M&A or manufacturing, they would be probably way ahead with AI. And then other industries that require more regulations, reviews, like telecom or healthcare, they might be a little bit behind. So it's a phased approach, and it all depends on the past. If you implemented your cloud-based IT infrastructure or the first of the industries like finance, then you're probably going to be ahead of AI as well.
That's great advice. You guys, stop being afraid of AI. Make it your friend. It's going to be there anyway. You might as well ride it to success. Aside from the dozen patents that you have in AI, you're also an author. Tell us about your book.
So it's right behind me there. So it's called Unlimited. It's a leadership book by a woman, by an immigrant, written for women and immigrants that want to become leaders or business owners and realize their full potential in corporate America.
Love that. I love it when women support women through their work. Yeah, it's incredible. So much of my younger years, there was such a sense of competition between women, and understandably so, because that's what we were trained to see each other. And it's been beautiful in recent years to see how many women are stepping up, writing beautiful books and creating organizations to support women. So I love it. Any last words? If people wanted to learn about your work, where would they go?
So they can Google Eugenia Jordan and find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and my website. So whenever you people are, you can connect, follow, and it's all the channels, platforms are there.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Eugenia, for joining us today to talk about artificial intelligence. I love it. We'll have to catch up soon and talk some more and see where things are at. Thanks, you guys, for listening to another episode of Citizen Journalist. If you're not already subscribed, what are you thinking? Intelligent listening? Come now. Go ahead and subscribe and share the show with your friends and family. Here in Citizen Journalist, we talk about important topics and how we can actually go from sound bites to solutions and really implement a great future for humanity. So if that sounds good to you, definitely be sure and subscribe. And I would like to mention to those of you who've not already ordered Memory Mansion, my second book has been out for a few months now. It hit #1. It shares my journey from Tennessee orphanage to marketing pioneer to spiritual social activist guru. Like, when you get older, you have many titles, folks. Anyway, if you want to learn more about the work that I do or check out Soul Tech magazine, please visit my website, shamanisis.com or soultech.world, and get the dish on everything. Anyway, thanks you guys, and have a beautiful week. And